The fluorescent lights of the Harold Washington Library flicker as I shelve another card of returns. My fingers numb from the February cold that still clings to my bones, even though I've been inside for 3 hours. The ancient heating system groans and sputters, barely making a dent in the chill that permeates this section of the children's wing. I pull my cardigan tighter, the thin fabric doing little to ward off the cold, but it's all I have. The coat I'd been wearing for the past 5 winters finally gave up last week, the zipper breaking beyond repair, and a new one isn't in the budget. It won't be for a while. My name is Emma Clarke, and I've been working at this library for 2 years, ever since I came to Chicago with $300, a duffel bag, and bruises I'd carefully covered with makeup. The bruises have faded. The fear hasn't. But here, surrounded by books and the quiet rustle of turning pages, I found something resembling peace. The library doesn't pay much, barely above minimum wage, but it's safe. No one asks too many questions. No one looks at me the way Derek used to, with that calculating expression that always preceded his fists. I work 3 jobs to make rent on my studio apartment in Pilsen. Morning shifts at the library, afternoon shifts at a coffee shop on weekdays, and weekend nights waitressing at a diner that smells perpetually of grease and desperation. I'm tired all the time, the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that sleep never quite fixes, but I'm free. That has to be enough. The children's section is my favorite part of the library. Story time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 in the morning. Kids sprawled on the colorful rug, eyes wide as I read about dragons and princesses and adventures in far-off lands. For 30 minutes, I get to be part of their wonder, their belief that magic exists and happy endings are possible. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. It's Monday morning, and the usual crowd is gathering. Mrs. Patterson with her twin boys, who always fight over who gets to sit closest. Little Sophia Rodriguez, who knows every princess story by heart. And then there's Luca. Luca Moretti started coming to story time 6 weeks ago, always arriving exactly 3 minutes before I begin. Always sitting in the same spot in the back corner, always alone. He's maybe 7 or 8 years old, with dark curly hair that falls into serious brown eyes, and a face that would be beautiful if it wasn't so solemn. He never speaks, never raises his hand when I ask questions, never rushes forward with the other children to pick the next book. He just sits, perfectly still, perfectly quiet, and listens with an intensity that sometimes makes my throat tight. He's always dressed impeccably, expensive clothes that I recognize from the department store windows I pass but could never afford. Today he's wearing a navy blue sweater that probably costs more than my monthly rent, dark jeans without a single wrinkle, and shoes so pristine they look like they've never touched a sidewalk. His hair is freshly combed, his hands clean, his posture straight. But it's the bruise on his left cheek that stops me cold as I look up from arranging the storytime rug. It's not the first time I've noticed it. That's what makes my stomach clench with recognition and dread. Every Monday for the past 3 weeks, Luca has arrived with the same mark. A purplish-yellow bruise on his left cheekbone, roughly the size of a child's fist. By Wednesday, it's fading to green. By Friday, it's barely visible. And then Monday comes again, and it's back, fresh and angry against his olive skin. I know what patterns like that mean. I know them in my bones, in my muscles, in the scars hidden beneath my clothes. As I begin story time, reading about a brave knight who protects the vulnerable, I watch Luca from the corner of my eye. He sits perfectly still, but his small hand occasionally drifts up to touch the bruise, then stops midair, as if he's been trained not to draw attention to it. The gesture is so familiar it makes my chest ache. I used to do the same thing with my own marks, that instinctive movement to check if they're still there, still visible, still proof of what happened in the dark. After story time ends and the children scatter to different sections with their parents or nannies, Luca remains in his corner. He always does this, staying behind for 10 or 15 minutes, pulling books from the shelf with careful deliberation, reading a few pages before replacing them exactly where they belong. I've never seen anyone pick him up. He simply appears at 9:57 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then vanishes like smoke when he's ready. Today, I make a decision. I crouch beside him as he's examining a book about constellations, his small fingers tracing the stars on the cover. Up close, The bruise is even more pronounced, the edges sharper than I initially thought. "Hi, Luca," I say softly, keeping my voice gentle, non-threatening. "That's a beautiful book. Do you like astronomy?" He looks up at me with those serious brown eyes, and for a moment I think he won't answer. Then he nods, just once. "Me too." I continue, sitting down cross-legged beside him, making myself smaller, less intimidating. "Did you know that some stars we see in the sky actually died millions of years ago? But their light is still traveling to reach us." His eyes widen slightly, the first real spark of interest I've seen from him. "They're ghosts." His voice is quiet, slightly raspy, as if he doesn't use it often. And it carries the faintest trace of an accent, Italian maybe, softened by American schooling. "Sort of like ghosts," I agree. "Beautiful ones that remind us they existed." We sit in silence for a moment. I can hear Mrs. Chun at the reference desk helping someone with the printer, the distant sound of footsteps on marble floors, the whisper of pages turning somewhere in the stacks. "Luca," I say carefully, my heart pounding. "I noticed you have a bruise. Does it hurt?" His whole body goes rigid. The book falls from his hands, landing with a soft thump on the carpet. His eyes dart to the entrance, then back to me, wide with something that looks like fear. "I'm not in trouble," he whispers urgently. "Please don't call anyone. Please." The desperation in his voice cuts through me like a blade. I've heard that tone before, felt that panic. The terror of someone finding out, of making things worse, of losing what little control you have over your own suffering. "I won't call anyone," I promise quickly, instinctively reaching out before stopping myself. "I just want to make sure you're okay. You've had that same bruise every Monday for 3 weeks. His jaw trembles, slightly. He's fighting tears, I realize. Fighting them with the same determination I used to employ, that iron will that children shouldn't have to develop. "I can't tell," he says finally, his voice breaking. "Papa doesn't know. He can't know. Papa." The word is Italian, intimate, full of love despite everything. This isn't a child being hurt at home, I realize with sudden clarity. This is a child being hurt somewhere else, by someone else, and he's hiding it from his father. "Why can't your papa know?" I ask gently. Luca's eyes fill with tears that don't fall. "Because he'll kill them," he whispers. "He'll actually kill them, and then everyone will know what he is, and I'll lose him too." The words hang in the air between us, heavy with implications I'm not sure I want to understand. Kill them. Not hurt them, not punish them. Kill them. Before I can respond, before I can process what he's just revealed, a phone rings. Not mine. Mine is a cheap prepaid that rarely makes a sound. This ringtone is classical, expensive, coming from the small backpack beside Luca. He fumbles for it with shaking hands, looking at the screen with pure terror. "It's Marco," he breathes. "I have to go. I'm late." He's standing, grabbing his backpack, the book about stars forgotten on the floor. "Luca, wait." But he's already running, his expensive shoes silent on the library carpet, disappearing around a bookshelf toward the exit. I stand there, my knees aching from crouching, my mind reeling from the conversation. He'll kill them. He'll actually kill them. What kind of father inspires that certainty in his 8-year-old son? What kind of world is this child living in? I pick up the astronomy book and return it to the shelf, my hands trembling slightly. Then I walk to the reference desk, where Mrs. Chun is sorting through reservation requests. "Mrs. Chun," I say, trying to keep my voice casual. "That little boy who comes to storytime, Luca? Do you know anything about his family?" Mrs. Chun looks up, her expression immediately wary. She's worked at this library for 20 years, seen everything, knows how to read between the lines. "Why do you ask?" she says carefully. "He has a bruise. The same one, every Monday. I'm concerned." Mrs. Chun sets down the paper she's holding and removes her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. When she looks at me again, her expression is grave. "Emma, honey, I'm going to give you some advice, and I need you to listen carefully." She leans closer, lowering her voice. "That child is Luca Moretti. His father is Dante Moretti. And if you value your safety, you will not get involved with anything concerning that family. The name means nothing to me. I've only been in Chicago for 2 years, kept my head down, avoided the news, avoided anything that might draw attention. I don't understand, I say. Who is Dante Moretti? Mrs. Chen's eyebrows rise. You really don't know? At my blank expression, she sighs. Dante Moretti runs the North Side. Restaurants, real estate, construction. And if the rumors are true, a lot of things that aren't on any official ledger. He's old money, old connections, old world. The kind of man you don't cross, don't question, and definitely don't accuse of anything related to his son. My blood runs cold. Mafia. She's talking about the Mafia. I've moved to Chicago, tried to start over, tried to stay invisible, and I've somehow stumbled into the orbit of organized crime. But the Bruises, I protest weakly. Someone is hurting that child, and I'm sure his father will handle it in his own way if he finds out. Mrs. Chun says firmly. But that's not our business, Emma. We provide books, we provide story time, we provide a safe space. We don't get involved in family matters, especially not with families like the Morettis. She puts her glasses back on, returning to her papers. Conversation over. Subject closed. I spend the rest of my shift in a daze, mechanically shelving books, checking returns, helping patrons find what they need. But my mind keeps returning to Luca's face, to his desperate whisper, to the bruise that blooms fresh every Monday. Because he'll kill them. He'll actually kill them. What is happening to that little boy? And why is he so desperate to hide it from his father? By the time my shift ends at 2, I've made a decision. A stupid decision, probably. A dangerous decision, definitely. But I've been powerless before. I've been the one with bruises I tried to hide, the one who smiled and pretended everything was fine while dying inside. I won't look away from a child in pain. I can't. I wait until Mrs. Chun is busy with a patron. Then I slip into the administrative office and access the library's registration system. It takes me less than 5 minutes to find Luca's library card information. His address is listed as a brownstone in the Gold Coast, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Chicago. There's an emergency contact, Marco Santoro, listed as head of household staff. Not his father. That strikes me as odd. If Dante Moretti is as powerful and wealthy as Mrs. Chin implied, why isn't he the emergency contact for his own son? I write down the address on a scrap of paper, tuck it into my pocket, and log out of the system. My hands are shaking. What am I going to do with this information? Show up at a Mafia boss's house and demand to know why his son has unexplained bruises? That's insane. That's suicidal. But as I pull on my thin cardigan and step out into the February cold, heading toward the coffee shop where my next shift starts in 20 minutes, I can't shake the image of Luca's serious brown eyes, his small hand reaching for a bruise he's been trained not to acknowledge. I have 3 days until the next story time. 3 days to figure out what to do. 3 days before I see that bruise again and have to decide whether to stay silent or speak up. The coffee shop shift passes in a blur of lattes and cappuccinos and customers who don't see me, who look through me like I'm as invisible as I've been trying to be. By the time I finish at 7 and head to the diner for the evening shift, my feet ache and my head pounds, but I'm grateful for the exhaustion. It makes it harder to think, harder to obsess over a little boy I barely know and a decision I have no business making. The diner is nearly empty on a Monday night. Just a few regulars at the counter, nursing coffee and pie, killing time before heading home to apartments as empty as mine. I go through the motions, taking orders, delivering food, wiping down tables. The manager, Jerry, is in a foul mood, snapping at everyone about a shipment that didn't arrive, and I keep my head down, stay out of his way, count down the hours until I can finally go home. It's almost 10 when the bell above the door chimes, signaling a late customer. I don't look up immediately, just grab a menu and turn toward the door with my professional smile firmly in place. Then I freeze. The man who's just entered is tall, maybe 6'2", with broad shoulders that fill out an expensive black coat. His hair is dark, touched with gray at the temples, styled in that effortlessly perfect way that costs hundreds of dollars to achieve. His face is all sharp angles and hard planes, handsome in a brutal sort of way, with a jaw that looks carved from granite and eyes so dark they're almost black. He's maybe 40, 45, and he carries himself with the kind of absolute confidence that comes from never having to doubt your power or authority. But it's his eyes that stop my heart. Those serious brown eyes, identical to Luca's, sweeping across the diner with the practiced assessment of someone always calculating threats and exits. Dante Moretti has just walked into my diner. And when his gaze lands on me, something flickers across his face. Recognition. No, that's impossible. We've never met. But the intensity of his stare makes my skin prickle with awareness and instinctive fear. He's not alone. 2 men flank him, both younger, both built like walls, both watching the diner with the same calculating assessment. Bodyguards. Of course he has bodyguards. Good evening. I manage, my voice steadier than I feel. Just one, or will your companions be joining you? Table for 1, he says, his voice low and rich, with a pronounced Italian accent that his sons has only faintly inherited. They'll wait by the door. I lead him to a booth in the back corner, the only spot that gives a clear view of both the entrance and the kitchen. He sits with his back to the wall, as I somehow knew he would, and accepts the menu with a nod. Can I get you something to drink? I ask, pulling out my pad. Espresso, he says, then adds, if it's made properly. There's no arrogance in his tone, just a statement of fact. Most diners can't make proper espresso. Ours is no exception. But I nod and head to the counter, feeling his eyes tracking my movements, heavy as a physical touch. Jerry is nowhere to be seen, probably in the back office. I'm alone with the regular customers, none of whom have looked up from their pie and coffee, and Dante Moretti. As I work the espresso machine, my mind races. This can't be a coincidence. Chicago has hundreds of diners, thousands of late-night eating options. Why here? Why tonight? Does he know I spoke to Luca? Does he know I looked up his address in the library system? Because he'll kill them. He'll actually kill them. My hands shake slightly as I steam the milk. I force them steady. I've dealt with dangerous men before. I survived Derek. I can handle one conversation with a mobster who probably doesn't even know I exist beyond being a waitress in a diner he randomly chose. When I return with the espresso, he's looking at his phone, his expression neutral. I set the cup down carefully, trying not to draw attention to myself. Your espresso, sir. Are you ready to order, or do you need more time? He looks up from his phone, and for a moment our eyes meet. His are cold, assessing, missing nothing. I watch as his gaze takes in my threadbare cardigan, my faded jeans, my worn sneakers. Taking my measure, categorizing me, dismissing me as inconsequential. I'll have the soup of the day, he says. And information. My heart stops. Information. About my son. His voice is quiet, conversational, but there's steel underneath. I understand you spoke with him this morning at the Harold Washington Library. I'd like to know what was discussed. The words hang in the air between us like a blade suspended over my head. He knows. Of course he knows. A man like Dante Moretti doesn't let his 8-year-old son move through the world without eyes on him at all times. Someone was watching during story time. Someone reported back. And now I'm standing in a nearly empty diner at 10 o'clock at night, facing a man who could make me disappear with a phone call. I should lie. Every survival instinct I've developed over the past 2 years screams at me to smile, deflect, minimize. Tell him it was nothing. Tell him Luca and I discussed books and stars and nothing more. Walk away while I still can. But then I remember the bruise. I remember the tremor in Luca's voice when he said, "Because he'll kill them." I remember being powerless, being the one with marks I couldn't explain, being the one everyone looked away from because getting involved was too complicated, too dangerous, too much. I look directly into Dante Moretti's dark eyes and make a choice that will change everything. Your son has a bruise on his left cheek, I say quietly, aware of the regular customers at the counter, of the bodyguards by the door. The same bruise, every Monday for the past 3 weeks. Fresh on Monday, fading by Friday, back again the following week. I asked him about it. Something flickers across Dante's face. Not surprise, exactly. Something darker, more dangerous. The espresso cup is suddenly very still in his hand. Continue, he says, his voice stripped of all inflection. I pull out my pad, pretending to take his order, keeping up the pretense of normalcy, even though nothing about this moment is normal. He said he couldn't tell me. That you didn't know. That you couldn't know because... I swallow hard. Because you would kill whoever was responsible, and then everyone would know what you are. The temperature in the diner seems to drop 10 degrees. Dante sets down his espresso cup with careful precision, the kind of control that speaks of violence barely leashed. When he looks up at me, his eyes are black ice. Did he tell you who? No. He ran before I could ask more. Someone named Marco called, and he said he was late. I meet his gaze steadily, even though my heart is hammering. Mr. Moretti, someone is hurting your son. Regularly. Systematically. And he's terrified of you finding out, not because he's afraid of you, but because he's afraid of what you'll do. For a long moment, Dante says nothing. He simply stares at me with those cold, assessing eyes, and I wonder if I've just signed my own death warrant. Then he pulls out his phone and dials, bringing it to his ear without breaking eye contact. Marco, he says in Italian, his accent thickening. Tell me about Luca's face. I don't speak Italian fluently, but I've picked up enough from library patrons to catch fragments. Marco's voice comes through tinny and panicked, rapid explanations that make Dante's jaw tighten incrementally. How long? Dante interrupts, his voice dangerously quiet. More explanation. More excuses. You're fired, Dante says flatly. You have 1 hour to clear out of the house. If I see you after that, we'll have a different conversation. He ends the call and returns his attention to me. Sit. It's not a request. I glance at Jerry, still nowhere to be seen, at the customers who are studiously ignoring us, at the bodyguards who have positioned themselves to block the exit. I sit. What's your name? Dante asks. Emma Clarke. Emma Clarke, he repeats as if testing it. You've worked at the library for 2 years. Before that, you appeared in Chicago with no job history, no references, and a story about losing your documents in a fire. You work 3 jobs, live in a studio apartment in Pilsen, and keep to yourself. His eyes bore into mine. You're running from something. Or someone. My blood turns to ice. He's had me investigated. Of course he has. Probably in the 3 hours since Luca left the library. That's none of your business, I manage. It became my business when you involved yourself with my son, he counters. I need to know who you are, Emma Clarke. I need to know if I can trust you. Trust me. I let out a bitter laugh. You're the one with the power here. I'm just a waitress who noticed a child in pain. Exactly, he says, leaning forward slightly. You noticed. You asked. You cared enough to look up my address in your library system. At my shocked expression, he adds, Yes, I know about that too. You cared enough to get involved, despite being warned not to. Despite knowing what I am. I know you're dangerous, I say quietly. I know you're probably everything the rumors say you are. But I also know your son loves you enough to hide his pain to protect you. That tells me something too. Something shifts in Dante's expression. Not softening, exactly. But a crack in the ice, a glimpse of a man beneath the monster. The bruises, he says. Marco claims Luca told him he fell during recess. Different incidents, different explanations. Marco believed him, or chose to believe him, because monitoring playground accidents wasn't part of his job description. His voice hardens. That was his mistake. You think someone at school is hurting him? I think my son attends a private academy where tuition costs more than most people make in a year, where security is supposedly impeccable, and where he's somehow being injured every week without anyone noticing or caring enough to investigate. Dante's hands curl into fists on the table. That ends now. A customer at the counter signals for more coffee. I stand automatically, muscle memory overriding fear, and tend to him before returning to Dante's booth. When I get back, he's on his phone again, typing rapidly. I'm pulling him from school tomorrow, he says without looking up. But I need to know what's happening first. I need to know who and why, and how long this has been going on. He looks up at me. You're good with children. He trusts you. I need you to talk to him again. I blink. You want me to question your son? I want you to have a conversation with him. In a place he feels safe. Without me there, because clearly my presence makes him feel he can't be honest. Dante's jaw tightens. He's protecting me. That's not how this is supposed to work. I protect him, not the other way around. The pain in his voice is raw, genuine. This isn't a monster. This is a father who just discovered his child has been suffering in silence. The library, I say slowly. Wednesday morning. Story time. I could ask him to stay after again, talk somewhere private. No, Dante says immediately. Too public. Too many cameras. Too many witnesses. If whoever is doing this realizes Luca is talking, they might escalate. He studies me for a moment. My house. Tomorrow afternoon. I'll have Luca there. You'll come, spend time with him, gain his trust enough to find out the truth. I have work. I'll compensate you for your time. Generously. He names a figure that's more than I make in a month across all 3 jobs. I should refuse. I should run as far and as fast as I can from Dante Moretti and his dangerous world. But I think of Luca's serious eyes, his desperate whisper, his small hand reaching for a bruise he's been trained not to acknowledge. I'm not doing it for the money, I say quietly. I'm doing it because a child is being hurt and adults are failing him. Something like respect flickers across Dante's face. Then we agree on something. He stands, pulling out his wallet and leaving several $100 bills on the table. Far too much for a cup of espresso and soup he didn't eat. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Marco will no longer be available to let you in, but I'll have someone at the gate expecting you. He hands me a business card with an address embossed in elegant script. Don't be late, Emma Clarke. And don't mention this to anyone. Not your boss, not your coworkers, not your friends. I don't have friends, I say before I can stop myself. He pauses, studying me with new interest. No, I suppose you don't. People running from their past rarely do. He buttons his coat. Get a better coat. Chicago winters are brutal, and that cardigan won't keep you alive much longer. Then he's gone, his bodyguards falling into step behind him, leaving me standing in an empty diner with more money than I've seen in years and a commitment I'm not sure I can keep. Jerry emerges from the back office, looking confused. Did we just have customers? I thought I heard voices. Just a late-night regular. I lie smoothly. He left cash. I finish my shift in a daze, my mind spinning with everything that just happened. When I finally get home to my studio apartment at midnight, I lie in my narrow bed and stare at the ceiling, wondering what I've gotten myself into. The next morning, I call in sick to both the library and the coffee shop, burning through goodwill I can't afford to lose. But I can't go to Dante Moretti's house wearing my work uniform or my threadbare jeans. I need to at least look presentable. I spend $20 I don't have at a thrift store, finding a simple navy sweater and clean black pants that fit reasonably well. It's not much, but it's better than what I have. When I look in the mirror, I see a woman who might belong in the Gold Coast, at least long enough to get through the door. The address on Dante's card leads me to a brownstone that makes my breath catch. It's not a house. It's a mansion, 4 stories of red brick and limestone with wrought iron balconies and windows that gleam in the afternoon sun. A security gate surrounds the property, and as I approach, a man in a dark suit emerges from a guardhouse. Emma Clarke, he asks, his hand resting casually near his jacket in a way that suggests a weapon. Yes. He speaks into a radio, then the gate swings open. Mr. Moretti is expecting you. Front door. I walk up the stone pathway, my heart pounding. The front door opens before I can knock, revealing a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and an efficient demeanor. Miss Clarke. I'm Teresa, the housekeeper. Please come in. The interior is even more breathtaking than the exterior. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, artwork that belongs in museums. But it's not cold or sterile. There are photographs on tables, a child's drawing stuck to the refrigerator visible through an archway, a pair of small sneakers by the door. This is a home, not just a house. Mr. Moretti is in his study, Teresa says. But first, Luca is in the library. He doesn't know you're coming. Mr. Moretti thought it would be better if your presence seemed coincidental. She leads me through the house to a room lined floor to ceiling with books. And there, curled up in a window seat with afternoon light streaming across his face, is Luca. The bruise is still there, exactly as I remembered. But today he's in casual clothes, jeans and a t-shirt, his hair uncombed, his feet bare. He looks younger like this, more vulnerable. He looks up as I enter, his eyes widening in shock. Miss Emma! His voice is small, confused. What are you doing here? I move slowly into the room, keeping my body language open and non-threatening. Your father invited me. He thought you might like some company this afternoon. Luca's face goes pale. He knows. You told him. I was worried about you, I say gently, sitting in a chair near the window seat, close but not crowding. I'm sorry if that feels like a betrayal. But Luca, someone is hurting you. Your father needs to know, so he can stop it. Tears well in Luca's eyes. You don't understand. If he finds out, if he does something, they'll know. They'll tell everyone what Papa really does. They said they would. They said they'd go to the police and the newspapers, and everyone would know, and Papa would go to prison, and I'd be all alone. The words tumble out in a rush, 8 years of fear and pain and desperate secrecy. My heart breaks for this child who's been carrying such an impossible burden. Who told you that, sweetheart? I ask softly. Who's hurting you? Luca shakes his head violently. I can't. They said if I tell, if anyone finds out, they'll destroy everything. I'm here now, a deep voice says from the doorway. Dante stands there, still in his suit from last night, looking like he hasn't slept. His eyes are locked on his son, and the naked pain in them is almost unbearable to witness. Papa, Luca whispers, shrinking back against the window. Dante crosses the room in 3 strides and drops to his knees in front of the window seat, bringing himself to his son's eye level. When he reaches out, his hands are gentle, cradling Luca's face with a tenderness that contradicts everything I know about him. Luca, figlio mio, he says, his voice rough with emotion. There is nothing in this world that matters more to me than you. Not my business, not my reputation, not my freedom. You understand? Nothing. You are everything. But they said. I don't care what they said. Dante's voice is fierce now. I don't care who they are or what they threaten. You are 8 years old. You should be worrying about homework and video games and whether you can have extra dessert. You should not be carrying bruises and secrets to protect me. Luca's tears spill over. But if you go to prison, then I go to prison, and you will still be taken care of, still be safe, still be loved. Dante's thumb gently strokes his son's bruised cheek. But I promise you, mio figlio, I will not go to prison. Whoever is doing this to you, whoever is threatening you, they don't have the power they think they do. Tell me who. Let me fix this. For a long moment, Luca stares at his father, searching his face for certainty, for safety. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he says, Coach Bradley. At school. He coaches soccer. Dante goes very still. Coach Bradley is hitting you? Luca nods miserably. Not just me. Tommy Ching too. And Rafael Costa. All of us whose fathers are. He trails off, unable to say it. Connected. Dante finishes, his voice flat and cold. Your coach is targeting children of made men. He says we're corrupting influences. That we don't deserve to be at the academy with the other kids. That our families are criminals, and we'll grow up to be criminals too. Luca's voice breaks. He makes us stay after practice. Says it's extra training. But really he hits us. Tells us if we tell anyone, he has evidence about our fathers. Real evidence that would send them all to prison. The rage that crosses Dante's face is terrifying. But when he speaks, his voice is controlled. Deadly calm. How long? Since September. Right after school started. 6 months. For 6 months. His son has been systematically abused, living in fear, protecting a father who would burn the world down to keep him safe. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Dante stands, pulling out his phone. Stay with Miss Emma, he tells Luca. I need to make some calls. He leaves the room, and I can hear his voice in the hallway, speaking in rapid Italian, the words too fast and furious for me to follow. But I don't need to understand the language to understand the promise in his tone. Someone is about to have a very bad day. Is Papa going to kill Coach Bradley? Luca asks me, his voice small. I don't know how to answer that. Honestly, I don't know if Dante will or won't. Men like him operate by different rules, exist in a world where violence is currency and justice is personal. Your father is going to make sure Coach Bradley never hurts you or anyone else again, I say carefully. How he does that, that's between him and the coach. Luca nods slowly, as if he expected that answer. Miss Emma, are you going to stay? Or are you going to disappear like the others? What others? The nannies, the tutors, everyone Papa brings to take care of me. His eyes are old beyond his years. They always leave once they understand what Papa really is. The loneliness in his voice cuts through me. This child has been abandoned over and over by adults who couldn't reconcile caring for him with the reality of his father's world. I'm not going anywhere, I hear myself say. Not until I know you're safe. It's a promise I have no business making. I have 3 jobs, a life I've carefully constructed to stay invisible and unconnected. Getting involved with the Moretti family is the opposite of everything I've been trying to do. But looking at Luca's hopeful face, I know I mean it. Dante returns, his expression grim but satisfied. It's handled. Coach Bradley is being removed from the school as we speak. The headmaster is being made aware of the situation, and there will be an investigation into any other staff who might have known and failed to report. What about the evidence he claimed to have? I ask. Dante's smile is cold. There is no evidence. Just a sadistic man who enjoyed terrorizing vulnerable children. He looks at his son. He was lying to you, Luca. He had nothing. And now he has less than nothing. Is he dead? Luca asks matter-of-factly. No, Dante says, surprising me. But he'll wish he was by the time my lawyers finish with him. Sometimes, Figlio, there are worse things than death. Like having to explain to a courtroom full of parents why you've been systematically abusing their children. Legal consequences. Public humiliation. The loss of everything Bradley valued. It's a kind of revenge I didn't expect from a man like Dante, but it's perhaps more devastating than simple violence would have been. What about Tommy and Raphael? Luca asks. Are their fathers going to help them too? I've already called them, Dante assures him. Everyone who was hurt by Coach Bradley will be protected. You did the right thing telling me, Luca. You saved those other boys too. For the first time since I arrived, Luca smiles. It's small and tentative, but it's there. Teresa appears with hot chocolate and cookies, a grandmother's solution to everything. Luca takes his mug gratefully, and I accept mine with thanks, grateful for something to do with my hands. I need to discuss something with Miss Emma, Dante says. Can you stay here and read for a bit? Luca nods, already reaching for a book on astronomy. The same subject he'd been exploring when I first approached him at the library. Dante gestures for me to follow him, and I find myself in his study, a masculine room of dark wood and leather with windows overlooking a snow-covered garden. He closes the door behind us and turns to face me. Thank you, he says simply, for noticing, for caring, for getting involved when you had every reason not to. I just did what anyone should do, I say. But most people don't. He moves to the window, hands in his pockets. They look away. They decide it's not their business. They protect themselves. He glances at me. You didn't. Even though you're running from something yourself. Even though you've worked hard to stay invisible. You saw a child in pain and you couldn't look away. How do you know I'm running from something? I ask, though I already know the answer. The same way I know your real name isn't Emma Clarke. The same way I know you left Boston 2 years ago with bruises you tried to cover with makeup and a determination to disappear. His eyes meet mine. Derek Mitchell. He's the one you're running from. Hearing that name out loud makes me flinch. I haven't spoken it in 2 years. Haven't let myself think about him, about what he did, about the night I finally found the courage to leave. He doesn't know where I am. I say, my voice tight. No, Dante agrees. But he's been looking. Private investigators, social media searches, credit card tracking. You've been careful, but not careful enough. A determined person with resources could find you. The floor seems to drop out from under me. Are you threatening me? No, he says immediately, moving closer. I'm offering you protection. You helped my son. Let me help you. I don't need. You work 3 jobs to afford a studio apartment with a broken lock and no security. You walk home alone at night through neighborhoods that aren't safe. You're one unlucky moment away from Derek Mitchell finding you. His voice is gentle but firm. That's not living, Emma. That's just surviving. What are you suggesting? Move into the guest house on my property. It's secure, private, comfortable. You'll have your own space, but you'll also have the security of my home, my resources. He pauses. And Luca would benefit from having you nearby. He trusts you. That's rare. I shake my head. I can't just move into a mob boss's guest house. That's insane. Is it more insane than living in fear every day? More insane than looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life? He steps closer, and I catch the scent of his cologne, expensive and masculine. I'm not asking you to be part of my business. I'm offering you safety, a chance to stop running. Why? I whisper. Why would you do this for me? His eyes hold mine, dark and intense. Because you did something for my son that no one else bothered to do. You saw him. You cared. And because I understand what it's like to live in a world where violence is always just beneath the surface. The difference is, I have the power to protect myself. You don't. Yet. The word hangs between us. Yet. As if he's planning to change that. Before I can respond, before I can process what he's offering and what it might cost, there's a sharp knock at the door. The same bodyguard from last night enters, his expression grim. Boss, we have a problem. Dante's posture changes instantly, tension radiating through him. What kind of problem? Derek Mitchell. He's in Chicago. One of the investigators he hired got a hit on Emma Clarke's name from a library system background check. He knows she works at the Harold Washington Library. The bodyguard's eyes flick to me. He's been there already, asking questions. The staff wouldn't tell him anything, but he's not giving up. He's checking nearby businesses, showing her picture. The world tilts. Derek is here. In Chicago. Looking for me. Dante's voice cuts through my panic. How long ago? 2 hours. We've been monitoring him since he arrived in the city yesterday, but he moved faster than anticipated. Pick him up, Dante says flatly. Bring him to the warehouse on Van Buren. I'll handle him personally. No, I hear myself say. Both men turn to look at me. No, you can't just kidnap him. That's illegal. He could go to the police, press charges. He won't, Dante says with absolute certainty. Because by the time I'm done with him, he'll be far too concerned with his own legal troubles to worry about filing charges against anyone. Dante, please. He moves closer, his hands coming to rest on my shoulders, grounding me. Emma, listen to me. This man hurt you, terrorized you, made you flee your home and rebuild your life from nothing. He doesn't get to do it again. He doesn't get to make you run anymore. I don't want you to kill him, I say desperately. I won't, he promises. But I will make sure he understands that you are under my protection now. That touching you, threatening you, even thinking about you too hard will have consequences he can't imagine. His hands are warm on my shoulders, his presence somehow both terrifying and comforting. This is what Luca meant. This is the side of Dante that inspires such fierce loyalty and such absolute fear. Trust me, he says softly, the way my son trusted you. Let me keep you safe. I should refuse. I should insist on doing this the legal way, the safe way, the way that doesn't involve mob justice and warehouses and men who make problems disappear. But I remember Derek's fists. I remember the fear. I remember running. And I'm so tired of being afraid. Okay, I whisper. Okay. Dante nods once, satisfied. To the bodyguard. Do it. And bring Emma's things from her apartment. All of them. She's staying here. The bodyguard leaves, and I'm left alone with Dante Moretti, the man who just decided my fate in less than 5 minutes. The man who's looking at me now like I'm something precious, something worth protecting. I should check on Luca, I say, needing space to process everything. Emma, Dante calls as I reach the door. I turn back. You're safe now. I promise you that. Whatever happens next, you're safe. It's the second promise he's made me. And despite everything I know about him, despite the danger and the darkness that surrounds him, I believe him. I return to the library to find Luca right where we left him, but he's no longer alone. Another man is in the room, younger than Dante, maybe 30, with a similar build and the same dark eyes. He's sitting on the couch, watching Luca with obvious affection. Miss Emma, Luca says, looking up. This is my Uncle Nico. He came to check on me. Nico stands, extending his hand. Emma Clarke. I've heard about you. Thank you for helping my nephew. His handshake is firm, his smile genuine, but his eyes assess me with the same calculating intelligence as his brother's. Family is everything to us, Nico says quietly. What you did for Luca, noticing when no one else did, caring when you had no obligation to, that makes you family now. Whether you want it or not. The words should sound like a threat. Instead, they sound like a promise. Before I can respond, Teresa appears again. Miss Emma, your room in the guest house is ready. Would you like me to show you? I glance at Dante, who's returned and is standing in the doorway. He nods slightly. Go, he says. Get settled. We'll talk more later. As Teresa leads me through the house and out to a small cottage behind the main building, my mind races. In the span of 24 hours, I've gone from invisible waitress to protected member of a crime family. I've exposed a child abuser, caught the attention of a powerful man, and had my entire life uprooted. The guest house is beautiful. 1 bedroom, a small kitchen, a cozy living area with a fireplace, windows that overlook the snow-covered garden. It's perfect. It's safe. It's a gilded cage. As I stand in the middle of this beautiful room, watching snow begin to fall outside, I realize the truth. I'm not free anymore. I'm protected, yes. Safe, probably. But I belong to Dante Moretti now, in whatever way he decides that means. And the most terrifying part? I'm not sure I mind. 3 hours later, my belongings arrive. All of them, packed efficiently into boxes by people I never saw. My clothes, my books, my few precious possessions. Even the hollowed-out book where I kept my emergency cash, though I suspect the cash is no longer necessary. As I unpack, I find a new smartphone on the kitchen counter, already programmed with several numbers. Dante's cell, Dante's office, Teresa, the main house, security, emergency services. A note in bold handwriting reads, "Keep this with you at all times." D. I'm examining the phone when it rings. Dante's number. Hello. Derek Mitchell is in custody, Dante says without preamble. He's no longer a threat to you. What did you do? I ask, my voice barely steady. I had a conversation with him. Showed him evidence of his own crimes. Assault, stalking, violation of a restraining order you didn't know you had but now do, thanks to my lawyers. He's currently being processed by the police on multiple charges. By the time he posts bail, if he can afford to, he'll have a court date and a legal team explaining exactly how much trouble he's in. Legal team. I echo. I thought you were going to. Handle it my way. There's dark amusement in his voice. I can be civilized when it suits me, Emma. And in this case, watching Derek Mitchell face public consequences for his actions seemed more satisfying than private ones. I sink onto the couch, overwhelmed. Thank you. You don't need to thank me. You're under my protection now. That means something. He pauses. Dinner is at 7. Teresa will show you to the dining room. Luca would like you to join us. It's not a request, but somehow it doesn't feel like a command either. Just a statement of fact. This is your life now. I'll be there, I say. When I end the call, I sit in the silence of my new home, processing everything that's happened. 24 hours ago, I was alone, invisible, safe in my obscurity. Now I'm living in a crime boss's guest house, eating dinner with his family, protected by the same dangerous forces I've spent my life trying to avoid. I should be terrified, and part of me is, but another part, the part that spent 2 years barely surviving, that worked 3 jobs and still couldn't afford heat, that lived every day in fear of Derek finding me. That part feels something else entirely. Relief. Dinner that first night is surreal. The dining room is formal but warm, with a table that could seat 20 but is set for just 3. Dante sits at the head, Luca to his right, and I'm placed to his left, positioned like family rather than guest or employee. Teresa serves pasta that melts on the tongue, followed by chicken that's been prepared with care and skill. Luca chatters about his astronomy book, asking questions about black holes and supernovas that Dante answers with surprising knowledge. They speak in a mixture of English and Italian, their affection for each other evident in every glance, every small gesture. And I realize this is what Luca was protecting. Not just his father's freedom, but this. These quiet dinners, this sense of home, this family of 2 that's been carved out of a dangerous world. Miss Emma, Luca says, pulling me from my thoughts. Papa says you're going to live here now. In the guest house. For a while, I say carefully, glancing at Dante. Good, Luca says with the simple acceptance of a child. It gets lonely sometimes. Just Papa and me and Teresa and the guards. It'll be nice to have someone else. After dinner, Dante walks me back to the guest house, his coat draped over my shoulders against the cold. The snow has stopped, leaving the garden crystalline and perfect under security lights. You're quiet, he observes. I'm processing, I admit. 24 hours ago I was a waitress. Now what am I exactly? He stops walking, turning to face me. What do you want to be? It's the second time someone in this family has asked me what I want, rather than telling me what I should do or be. I want to be useful, I say finally. I don't want to be just someone you're protecting. I want to contribute something. Dante studies me in the dim light. You already have. You gave me back my son's trust. That's not nothing, Emma. But going forward, we'll figure it out, he says. You're educated, intelligent, observant. There are a dozen ways you could be valuable to my organization if you choose to be. He pauses, but that's a conversation for later. For now, focus on settling in, on feeling safe for the first time in 2 years. He's right, and as I lie in bed that night, in a room with locks that actually work and security that would make Fort Knox jealous, I sleep deeper than I have since leaving Boston. The next 3 months pass in a blur of transformation. I quit all 3 of my jobs, much to Jerry's annoyance and Mrs. Chen's concerned warnings. Dante arranges for private tutors for Luca, and I find myself helping coordinate their schedules, sometimes sitting in on lessons when Luca asks me to. I learn the rhythms of the household. Teresa's morning routine, the security shift changes, the way certain phone calls send Dante into his study for hours. I learn which topics are safe to discuss and which ones meet with careful silence. Slowly, carefully, I'm introduced to other aspects of Dante's world. Nico becomes a regular presence, teaching me about the family's legitimate businesses, the restaurants, the real estate, the construction companies that form the public face of the Moretti Empire. He never mentions the darker side, but its presence is always felt, always acknowledged in the silence between words. You're good at this, Nico tells me one afternoon as I help him review contracts for a new restaurant acquisition. Understanding the nuances, seeing the implications. Dante was right about you. Right about what? Nico smiles. That you're wasted as a waitress. I start accompanying Dante to business dinners, ostensibly as Luca's caregiver when the boy joins us, but increasingly as something more. An advisor, a translator of social cues and hidden meanings. I watch, I listen, and I learn. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dynamic between Dante and me shifts. It starts small, his hand at the small of my back, lasting a moment longer than necessary. The way his eyes follow me across a room. How he asks my opinion on matters that have nothing to do with Luca, then actually listens to my answer. Then there are the gifts. A new coat, properly warm for Chicago winters. A laptop when he notices me squinting at my old one. Books I mention wanting to read appearing on my doorstep. Each gift is practical, thoughtful, never ostentatious. Each one chips away at my resistance. You're falling for him, Teresa says one morning, catching me staring out the window at Dante and Luca building a snowman in the garden. I'm not, I protest, but it sounds weak even to my own ears. It's all right, you know, she says gently. To let yourself feel something. To let yourself want something beyond just survival. But it's not all right, because Dante Moretti is a crime boss, and I'm a woman who's spent 2 years trying to escape violence. Getting involved with him, letting myself feel anything for him, is the height of stupidity. Except he's gentle with his son. Except he keeps his promises. Except when he looks at me, I feel seen in a way I never have before. Not as a victim, not as someone to be saved, but as an equal. Someone valuable. Someone worth listening to. It terrifies me. The breaking point comes on a Tuesday in May. I've been living in the guest house for 3 months, settled into a routine that feels almost normal. Luca's bruises are a distant memory. He's thriving with private tutors and the security of knowing he's protected. Derek Mitchell is serving 18 months for assault and stalking, his trial a matter of public record that can't touch me anymore. I'm safe. I'm comfortable. I'm starting to believe this could be permanent. That's when everything falls apart. I'm in the main house, helping Luca with a science project, when Nico arrives unexpectedly. The expression on his face makes my blood run cold. Where's Dante? He asks Teresa urgently. In his study. Nico, what's wrong? He's already moving, not answering. I exchange glances with Teresa, then follow him, my heart pounding. Through the study door, I hear raised voices. Can't be serious, Dante is saying. We had an agreement. The agreement was contingent on certain conditions. A voice I don't recognize responds. Those conditions have changed. I shouldn't eavesdrop, but something keeps me frozen in the hallway, listening. Marrying her would secure the alliance. The unknown voice continues. Her father controls the south side. Combining our territories would make us untouchable. Marrying her. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'm not interested in an arranged marriage, Dante says coldly. Tell Carmine that. Tell him yourself. He's expecting an answer by Friday. The voice pauses. Consider carefully, Dante. You have a son to think about. The protection an alliance with the Rossi family would provide is not worth sacrificing my personal life for. Then you're a fool. Footsteps approach the door. I barely have time to step back before it opens, revealing a man in his 60s with silver hair and cold eyes. He looks me up and down dismissively before brushing past. Dante appears in the doorway, his expression thunderous. Then he sees me, and something in his face shifts. How much did you hear? Enough, I whisper. You're being pressured to marry someone. He runs a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. It's complicated. It doesn't sound complicated. It sounds like you're expected to marry some mob princess to secure an alliance. I'm surprised by the anger in my own voice. Which is fine. It's your world, your rules. But I should probably start looking for my own place. No, he says sharply. Then softer. No, Emma. That's not what's happening here. Then what is happening? He looks at me for a long moment, some internal struggle playing out behind his eyes. Then he reaches for my hand, pulling me into the study and closing the door. The Rossi family wants an alliance through marriage, he says. It would be strategically advantageous. Carmine Rossi has significant influence, resources I could use. And his daughter, Isabella, is beautiful, educated, raised in this world. He pauses. She would be the logical choice. Each word is a knife to my chest. Then marry her. I don't want to marry her, Dante says, his voice rough. I don't want Isabella Rossi or any strategic alliance. I want. He stops, jaw tightening. What do you want? I whisper. He closes the distance between us in 2 strides, his hands coming up to frame my face. You. I want you, Emma. I have since that night in the diner when you looked me in the eye and told me my son was being hurt. Since you made the choice to protect Luca, even though it meant exposing yourself to my world. I can barely breathe. Dante, I know I'm not what you deserve. I know my world is violent and dangerous, and nothing like the safe life you've been trying to build. His thumbs stroke my cheekbones, gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. But I can't keep pretending this is just about protection anymore. I can't keep lying to myself about what I feel. What do you feel? My voice breaks on the question. Everything, he says simply. I feel everything when I look at you. And it terrifies me because I haven't felt anything like this since. He stops, shaking his head. Never. I've never felt like this. Before I can respond, before I can process what he's saying, the door bursts open. Nico stands there, his face pale. We have a problem. Isabella Rossi is here. With her father. And about 20 soldiers. Dante's expression goes from vulnerable to lethal in an instant. What? They're at the gate. Carmine says if you won't come to him with an answer, he'll come to you. Dante curses in Italian, releasing me and moving to the window. I follow his gaze to see a convoy of black SUVs pulled up to the security gate. This is about control, Nico says grimly. Showing up here, uninvited, with muscle. He's making a statement. He's making a mistake, Dante corrects coldly. He pulls out his phone, makes 2 quick calls. Within minutes, I hear vehicles arriving from other directions. Reinforcements. Get Emma and Luca to the safe room, Dante orders Nico. Now. No, I say, surprising myself. I'm not hiding. Dante turns to me, his eyes fierce. Emma, this isn't a game. These are dangerous people. I know what they are. I've been living in this world for 3 months, learning it, understanding it. I lift my chin. If this is about you choosing between me and an alliance, then I should be there. Running and hiding just proves Carmine's point, that I'm a weakness, something to be exploited. She's right, Nico says quietly. Dante shoots him a look that could kill. I'm just saying, strategically showing strength. I don't care about strategy right now, Dante snaps. I care about keeping her safe. Then keep me safe by letting me stand beside you, I say firmly. Show them I'm not a liability. Show them you're not making this choice from weakness, but from strength. For a long moment, Dante just stares at me. Then, incredibly, he nods. Stay close to me. You don't speak unless I tell you to. And if things go bad, Nico will get you out. Understand? I nod, my heart racing. We move to the front of the house, where Dante's people have formed a defensive perimeter. The gate opens, and Carmine Rossi's convoy rolls through slowly, a show of power and menace. An older man emerges from the lead vehicle, Carmine himself, gray-haired and distinguished in an expensive suit. Beside him is a woman in her late 20s, stunningly beautiful with dark hair and calculating eyes. Isabella. Dante, Carmine says warmly, as if he hasn't just shown up uninvited with a small army. You weren't returning my calls. I thought a personal visit might be more effective. You could have called ahead, Dante replies, his voice ice. This is my home, Carmine. My son is inside, which is exactly why this conversation is so important. Carmine's eyes flick to me, dismissive. But perhaps we should speak privately. Anything you have to say can be said in front of Miss Clarke. Carmine's eyebrows rise. Miss Clarke, the librarian. He makes it sound like an insult. Dante, surely you're not letting this girl influence matters of business. What I let Emma influence is my concern, Dante says flatly. Now say what you came to say, then leave my property. Isabella steps forward, her smile predatory. Let me make this simple. Marry me, secure the alliance, and everyone benefits. Your son gets the protection of both families. Your territory expands. Your enemies think twice before moving against you. She glances at me. Or keep your little pet, refuse the alliance, and watch as the South Side becomes hostile territory. Your choice. The casual cruelty in her voice makes something in me snap. For 3 months, I've been learning this world, understanding its rules, finding my place in it. I've been a waitress, a survivor, a victim. But I'm done being underestimated. There's a third option, I say, my voice clear and steady. Everyone turns to look at me. Dante's expression is unreadable. Nico looks concerned. Carmine appears amused. And what would that be? Isabella asks, her tone mocking. Dante refuses your offer not because he's weak or sentimental, but because he doesn't need you. I meet her gaze directly. You want the North Side? Fine. But ask yourself why Carmine is so desperate for this alliance. Why he's willing to offer his daughter, to show up here with soldiers, to push this hard. Carmine's expression darkens. Careful, girl. It's because you're vulnerable, I continue, ignoring his warning. The federal investigations into your operations. The territory you lost to the Russians last year. The fact that 3 of your key people have flipped in the past 6 months. I turn to Dante. I've been reading. Learning. The Rossi family needs this alliance more than you do. They're using Isabella as a lure because they're desperate. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then Dante's hand finds mine, his fingers interlacing with mine in front of everyone. A public claim, a statement of unity. Emma's right, he says quietly. I don't need you, Carmine. You need me. And that changes everything. Carmine's face flushes with anger. You're making a mistake. No. I'm making a choice. Dante's voice is steel. I choose Emma. I choose building something real over playing games with alliances that would collapse the moment circumstances changed. And if that means the South Side becomes hostile territory, then so be it. I've dealt with worse. You'll regret this, Isabella hisses. I doubt it, Dante replies. Then to his security. Show them out. Carmine looks like he wants to argue, but the number of weapons now visible around the property convinces him otherwise. He and Isabella return to their vehicles, the convoy pulling out with significantly less swagger than it arrived with. As soon as they're gone, I start shaking. The adrenaline, the audacity of what I just did, hits me all at once. Dante pulls me against him, his arms solid and safe around me. That was incredibly stupid, he murmurs into my hair. And incredibly brave. I meant what I said. They need you more than you need them. I know. Nico's been tracking their situation for months. But I didn't expect you to know. I pull back to look at him. You gave me access to your files. I read them. All of them. I wanted to understand your world if I was going to live in it. Something like pride flickers in his eyes. You never stop surprising me. Is it true? I asked quietly. What you said. About choosing me. Every word. He cups my face in his hands. I don't want Isabella Rossi. I don't want a strategic alliance. I want you, Emma Clarke. I want to watch you help my son with his homework. I want to wake up knowing you're safe in the guest house. I want. He stops, his jaw tightening. I want everything. With you. My heart is hammering, so hard I'm sure he can feel it. Your world is dangerous. Yes. People will always be testing you, testing us. Yes. And you're a crime boss who will probably do illegal things for the rest of your life. His mouth curves slightly. Also, yes. I should walk away. I should thank him for his protection, for saving me from Derek, and return to building a safe, normal life somewhere far from Chicago and the Moretti family. Instead, I rise on my toes and kiss him. It's our first real kiss, and it's nothing like the romance novels describe. It's desperate and real and tastes like fear and hope and the future all mixed together. His arms tighten around me, pulling me closer, and for the first time in 2 years, I feel something other than fear. I feel alive. When we finally break apart, Nico is diplomatically studying his phone, and Teresa is beaming from the doorway. So, Dante says, his voice rough, does this mean you're staying? It means I'm choosing you too, I whisper. Whatever that looks like. However dangerous it is. I'm choosing this. His smile is transformative, showing me the man beneath the monster. Then we should talk about moving you into the main house. The guest house is too far away. Dante, I know. We'll take it slow. But Emma, I need you to understand something. His eyes are fierce. What I feel for you, it's not temporary. It's not convenience, or gratitude, or protection. He struggles for words. It's everything. And I will spend however long it takes proving that to you. Before I can respond, Luca appears, having apparently escaped his safe room. Is Miss Emma going to be my mom now? The question is so direct, so innocent, that both Dante and I freeze. That's complicated, Figlio, Dante says carefully. Why? Luca looks between us. You like her. She likes you. She's already here all the time helping me with homework and reading stories and making sure I eat vegetables. That's basically what moms do. Out of the mouths of babes. Luca, I say gently, crouching to his level. Your father and we're figuring things out. But whatever happens, I care about you very much. That won't change. But you'll stay, right? His eyes are anxious, too old for 8 years. You won't leave like the others? I glance up at Dante, who's watching us with an expression I can't quite read. Then I look back at Luca. I'm not going anywhere, I promise. 6 months later, I stand in front of a mirror in what is now our bedroom, mine and Dante's, adjusting the simple cream-colored dress I've chosen for the ceremony. It's not white. Nothing about this is traditional. Teresa fusses with my hair while Dante's sister, Gianna, who I met 3 months ago when she flew in from Italy, applies my makeup with expert precision. You're sure about this? Gianna asks, meeting my eyes in the mirror. It's not too late to run. She's testing me. I understand that now. The Moretti family tests everything. Everyone, constantly. I'm sure, I say firmly. Good. She smiles, genuine warmth in her eyes. Because my brother has been insufferable since he decided he wanted to marry you. If you backed out now, we'd never hear the end of it. The ceremony is small. Just family and a few trusted associates. Nico serves as best man. Luca is ring bearer, taking his responsibility so seriously it makes my heart ache. A judge who owes Dante several favors officiates. When I walk into the private garden behind the house, Dante is waiting. He's in a black suit, his hair perfectly styled, his expression intense. But when he sees me, something in his face softens. This is real, I think, as I move toward him. This dangerous, impossible, beautiful thing we've built is real. The vows are simple. We both know the traditional promises don't quite fit our situation. How can I vow to love him in sickness and health when his health might end with a bullet? How can he promise to forsake all others when his first loyalty will always be to his family, his organization? Instead, we promise truth. We promise to choose each other, every day despite the danger. We promise to protect what we've built. When the judge pronounces us married, Dante kisses me in front of everyone, claiming me publicly and irrevocably. Luca cheers. Nico Wolf whistles. Teresa cries. At the reception, small and intimate, Dante pulls me aside. I have something for you, he says, leading me to his study. Inside on his desk are papers. Legal documents. What is this? I ask. I've been restructuring things, he says carefully. Divesting from certain operations. Focusing on legitimate businesses. The restaurants, the real estate, the construction companies. They're all clean. Fully legal. I stare at him. You're going legitimate? Not entirely, he admits. There are some operations I can't fully extricate myself from without causing a war. But I'm minimizing my exposure, creating distance. For you. For Luca. For the family I hope we'll build. Children. He's talking about children. Our children. Dante, you don't have to change who you are for me. I'm not changing who I am. I'm becoming who I want to be. His hands frame my face. You made me realize something, Emma. I've spent 20 years building an empire, consolidating power, making myself untouchable. But what's the point if I'm too paranoid to enjoy it? If my son can't have a normal life? If the woman I love has to constantly look over her shoulder? I knew what I was signing up for, I remind him. And I'm making sure what you signed up for has more light than shadow. He kisses my forehead. You saved my son from suffering in silence. Let me do this for all of us. It's not a complete transformation. I'm not naive enough to believe Dante Moretti will ever be entirely free of his past or his world. But it's a start. It's a man choosing to be better because he has something worth being better for. I love you, I whisper, the words still new and strange on my tongue. I know, he says, smiling. You married me, didn't you? 2 years later, I'm in the garden, watching Luca help his baby sister, Sophia, toddle across the grass. She's 18 months old, dark curls just like her father's, and a smile that lights up every room she enters. Dante emerges from the house, loosening his tie. Another day of legitimate business deals and board meetings. He's still dangerous, still commanding, still the man who runs the North Side. But he's also a father who reads bedtime stories and a husband who makes sure I have my coffee exactly how I like it every morning. How was your day? He asks, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Good. Luca got an A on his science project. Sophia learned a new word, no, which she's using for everything. And I had lunch with Gianna. I lean back against him. How was yours? Boring, which is exactly how I like it these days. He kisses the top of my head. No fires to put out, no territorial disputes, no surprise visits from hostile families. The Rossi alliance never happened, but the predicted hostility never materialized either. Carmine is dealing with his own problems. Those federal investigations I mentioned turned into indictments 6 months after our confrontation. Isabella married someone else, a rising star in the Philadelphia organization. We're safe as anyone in this world can be. I was thinking, Dante says casually, about expanding the family. I turn in his arms. Sophia is barely walking. I meant you. His eyes are serious. I've been watching you with Luca's tutoring, how you organize his schedule and help him learn. You're wasted just being a wife and mother, Emma. You could do more. If you wanted. More like what? I'm opening a community center on the North Side. After-school programs, tutoring, safe spaces for kids who need them. He tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. I want you to run it. I blink, surprised. Really? You noticed Luca's bruises when everyone else looked away. You understood the pattern, the systematic abuse, because you'd lived through something similar. That instinct, that compassion, it could help dozens of kids. He pauses, and it would be entirely legitimate. Nothing connected to my other businesses. Just you doing good, making a difference. It's perfect. It's everything I didn't know I wanted.